Hi there. Quick intro before I add on all the little video clips I did yesterday. If you're here because you just want to see pretty pictures and the little bits where we're cutting the desk out, I will put a note in the description of whereabouts in the video you need to jump to. But if you're here because you also are interested in me and my thought processes and how I was feeling yesterday before we cut out the new semicircle, then obviously, you know, you're welcome to start at the beginning and work your way through. I've included a couple of pictures at the end of two of my previous workbenches. One of them is from many years ago, over 20 years ago now, when I actually bought an existing business off somebody, so I inherited that workbench, and my subsequent 3 workbenches, including this one since then, was kind of modelled on the principles behind that one with height and, you know, and I wanted to have scoops going around me and stuff like that. And then the second picture is the most recent workbench, the conditions I've been working in, and a couple of shots of me sat there doing that. And so from now on, a bit wibbly wobbly at the moment, here's my new workbench and one of my new pegs. Well, good morning everybody. Haven't done any more videos for a few days because the past few days I've been really busy and then really burnt out. I thought I'd give you another little angle of my new jewellery making studio and just give you a little update of what's happening. Behind me is my new jewellery making workbench. It's nearly done. I came up with the idea, I noticed this table in the local auction, and it's like a big slab of wood with like a really nice rustic feel to it and a bit of an edge that's not, you know, completely straight. And like every other idea I've got, I just decided I had to make that happen. I was going to try and fit my old jewellery making workbench into the new space, and to begin with I was fixed on trying to recreate what I had before, and eventually I realised I didn't have to do that. I could start from scratch again, but that means pulling the ideas out of my head, trying to visualise how I'm going to work in the space. This is the 3rd jewellery workshop that I've built from scratch, and all I've been able to do is take what I knew worked for me before and apply it to the new situation. So we are at the stage now today where we're going to cut the semicircle out that I will sit to, and it's quite a nervous moment because you only get one chance at this. It's not like I can just go out and buy another piece of wood like that. So that's what's happening today. Also today I am sporting my new spotty apron that I found recently with my spotty dress that I've had for over 10 years now. It's one of my favourite things to wear. And just before I came out here, my daughter said I look like a pantomime dame. Thanks. So, and now I've dried up. I just wanted to show you a little bit of the workshop. So the workbench is quite basic. It's just a big, clunky, strong structure designed to fit the way that I know that I work. I wanted to make sure that the inside was completely enclosed because of things pinging off and disappearing. And I've made a tray this time with a bit of an edge to it to contain all my silver dust and gold dust and stuff like that. So there we go. It's going to go under that window there. These are the other windows that I bought when I was frantically looking for something, anything that would do a few months back. I tried to save money by buying recycled and second-hand things, and I needed double glazed windows at a moment in time when a lot of people were building sheds and things. So I found these and the big window on eBay, and I travelled, I think it was about a 3-hour round trip to go and get them. I didn't realise how big that window was going to be until I rocked up at the place that was selling it. And then I brought it back, and we'd already built the frame for the shed and it fitted within millimetres. The guy building the shed had to redesign the whole of the shed just to fit it in, and I'm really pleased with the end result. It's glorious in here when the sun shines through the window, which it does most of the day. I'm not going to lie, I'm really nervous about making jewellery again. I'm really nervous about what my capabilities are going to be like. I get really impatient when I'm making jewellery. I find it really difficult to spend a lot of time making something. I want like instant results, and I felt a little bit like that building the shed, building the new studio all along. I never imagined it would take as long as it did, and the suspense is killing me. So just a little note about what goes on in my head most of the time. Most of the time I have music playing in my head, very often on a repetitive reel over and over again, and that can change all the time, or it can be the same tune all day. And this morning, most of the morning, for some reason, I've had da ba da ba dum, dun dun da da dum. That's one of them. That's been going on and on and on. But when I sat down to do this, I suddenly switched to Kate Bush. We're all alone on the stage tonight. Oh, because that's how I feel. I feel like I'm alone on the stage here. But I'm not alone. There's people watching, there's people listening, and I'm very grateful for those people, because it's giving me the inspiration to carry on. And obviously I'd like to produce something that's going to be interesting and useful and entertaining. So I've set the stage, I just got to get up and perform now. So I'm overflowing with ideas all the time, to the point that it paralyses me sometimes. And I'm really worried that I'm just going to come in here and sit down and not be able to get any of those ideas out. There aren't enough hours in the day, and I'm not physically capable of making all the things I'm ever going to want to make. So what I choose to make from now on is really important to me. Oh, I might have a little editing break there. What was I going to say? Well, I wasn't planning on revealing this little bit yet, but this is the first time I've been in here, and I can see sunlight through my other little window. Ooh, a new chair. This little space here is going to be for my polishing motor. I wanted to build like a little booth just to keep the dirt away from the rest of the workshop. Dirt in the workshop has been a major issue for me in the past. This little window here probably isn't going to make any difference to the space other than it being just a really nice addition to get that early morning sun coming in. I'll still need lights to work in there, but it's all about creating a pleasant space to work in after working in such an unpleasant space for such a long time. And I need to give a little shout out to the guys who live quite locally to me that advertised this door for free. I'm really, really chuffed with it. So yeah, I'm really pleased with all the different angles and all the pleasant things to look at in here, because I spend a lot of time just kind of rocking backwards and forwards wondering what to do next. So the other thing that I had to reframe in my head after building this was the cost versus what I think I'm capable of actually making jewellery to sell, and the knowledge that I have so many things that I just want to make as an artist. So I'm 56, and if I was to somehow magically create a couple of pieces of jewellery a week that sold at a certain price for the next 20 years, I don't know if I'll actually cover the cost of this. So I had to reframe the whole thing in my head and realise that I'm not just creating this to make a living out of, I'm creating this so that I can pursue a calling. Lots of people spend a lot of money on hobbies, and there's a lot of jewellers out there that do it for a hobby. And I have spent money on things that interest me over the years. I've had lots and lots and lots of special interests that cost a lot of money, but I've never considered me making jewellery as something that I do for a hobby. So I'm having to reframe that in my mind. You know, I haven't just built a space to create in. I've built a space in order just to be. And that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most. Every time I step in here, I'm a bit amazed by it all. And I just wanted to share that aspect of what I'm doing here. It feels like an incredible over-the-top extravagance. And yet I don't really spend much money on anything else really in my life. I don't really do holidays. I'd like to go on holiday, but I obviously don't want it enough to have made it happen. So hardly scintillating content, is it? I've been looking at a lot of videos about how to create interesting content for YouTube, and all I can do is just show up and be who I am right now today. Right now today, I'm not zingy me. My energy's quite low. I'm pulling it out the bag, trying to get through everyday life. But I definitely wanted to do this today. So, back to the house. I need to assess what other things I need to fit into my life today whilst this carries on getting built. My house is in chaos at the moment. Absolute chaos. My antiques and collectibles business has been really busy for the past few weeks. I've been trying to get on top of a massive backlog of pricing. I've got loads and loads of sort of costume jewellery that needs to be priced, and it needs to be got out, because you can't sell it if it's sitting in a bag, can you? And also, just to make matters a little bit more complicated for myself, I've signed up to do a antiques and collectors fair on the 1st of March. So I need to think about gathering a interesting amount of things to go and tout my wares, ready for that. This time last year I did an antiques and collectors fair, and I thought it would be really easy just to do a little tour around my 4 different locations, which is probably around about 20 miles in that direction, 7 miles in that direction, another 5 in the... Yeah, so it's a, you know, it's a decent drive around, and I would scoop out all my most interesting things, and I would put them out for sale at this antiques fair, and then I'd just pop them back afterwards, and I could rearrange everything, and all my units would have fresh stock because I would have moved everything around like a giant sliding block puzzle. But in reality, it was a monumental effort. It was a monumental thing that we did. It took me weeks and weeks and weeks to deal with the aftermath of creating such a spectacle. I learnt loads doing it. I learnt that I don't want to do a 2-day antiques and collectors fair in February ever again in that cold condition. It was a great experience. I really enjoyed it, but oh my goodness me, it was torture. And I was indoors. So I'm scaling it down this year. I'm doing it for fun. And I'm just taking a little clothes rail with some interesting outfits, and I'm going to take some interesting jewellery and interesting knicky-knacks, and just having one little table. So yeah, that's me in my other life. That's the thing that I'm doing nowadays to eke a living. And as I've mentioned before, it brings me an enormous amount of joy, and it adds variety. And so that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go back to the house and see if I can tidy up the space a little bit and make it a little bit more pleasant to be in, because I do work better in a pleasant surroundings. And I'll come back later and we'll show you the workbench being cut. It's time to cut. Everybody meet Miles. Miles meet everybody.
Hello.
We are working with the tools we have, and I have a semicircle cut on the workbench, but before we cut that circle, we're just going to try a smaller circle just to make sure it's going to cut the way we want it to, and we don't have to go out and buy a router, is it?
A router.
Right, off you go. No pressure.
Using the jigsaw.
Fab. Okay, here we go. This is the final cut. Measure twice, cut twice, and it's my job to now hoover up the dust. It probably would have been easier just to blow it off. Anyway, off you go. I've been out and I've purchased, courtesy of the Winstay sawmills in Rwabon in North Wales,
Right.
Literally just turned up on the doorstep and said, please, have you got any really, really, really hard wood that I can make some new bench pegs out of? I was going to try and use my old bench peg here, but like everything else that I've started here, it becomes blatantly obvious that I just need to start from scratch. Start anew and start as I mean to go on. So I have bought some Eki wood, and Miles is just reassembling the router so that he can do routy things and make me a variety of bench pegs to suit my every need, plus spares for the rest of my life. Yeah.